In today's lesson, we're going to look at circumference of circles, and there's a bit of information you need to know first. The first thing is, look at the red lines in these pictures. You need to know the name of each of these parts of a circle. Do you know the name of this red line? This red line is a radius. It is a line that goes from the centre to the edge. Do you know the name of this red line? This red line is called the diameter. It is a line that goes from edge to edge through the centre. So it must go through the centre of the circle. Now recently we've been doing area, perimeter and volume. So if we're given a circle, what do you think this last picture is? What do you think the last bit, what do you think the outside of the circle is? Well, if we knew the length of that, it would be the perimeter. But with circles, it has a special name. We call it the circumference. Circumference. The circumference of the circle. And this is the distance around the edge of the circle. To find the circumference of a circle, we need a special formula, and it involves a special number called pi. Not a nice apple pie, a number called pi. Pi was discovered by people many, many years ago, and it's a special number, 3.14, and it has lots of other decimals as well. It keeps going on. It's got about 1 million decimal places. But pi is really important when it comes to circles, so we need it in a lot of circle formulae. So the first thing, what I want you to do right now is get a calculator out, even if it's on your iPad, and find this button, find pi. Okay, here's my calculator. I'm going to show you how to find pi. If you look at the very bottom of your calculator down here, pi is in yellow, just above that times 10 to the x, the yellow bit. To get it to show on your screen, because it's not the white bit on the button, it's the yellow bit above, you have to press shift, and a little S will come up in the corner of your screen. Then you press the button where pi is in yellow, and you can see now the pi button comes up. Now you continue and type anything else you need in your calculation. So now we know where to find pi, and we know our parts of the circle. Go back and watch again if you need to. We've got the radius, is the line from the centre to the edge. The diameter is from edge to edge, but it goes through the centre. And circumference is the distance around the edge of the circle. The last thing we need to know is the formula. So to find circumference, we need to do pi multiplied by the diameter. Often we see that written as C equals pi d. So the formula you need to remember is circumference equals pi times diameter. And you must learn that formula for your exam. So a question might ask you, find the circumference of this circle. Look at the picture. Is 7 centimetres the diameter? Yes. Write that down. The diameter is 7 centimetres. The next thing you need to remember is your formula. Can you remember the formula I just gave you? Circumference equals pi times d, diameter. We know what d is. It's 7. So the sum we need to do is pi times 7. Now I'm going to show you now how to type that into your calculator. The question was pi times 7. So we do shift pi times 7 equals. Now the first answer that comes up is 7 pi. That answer is important. If you're asked for the answer in terms of pi, that's what it wants. But if it wants you to round it to 2 decimal places, 3 significant figures, this button here, SD, I think most of you know it, that's the button you need to press. So this is 21.99, have to round it correctly. Let's go for 3 significant figures. So that means we're going to keep the first 3 numbers, 2, 1, 9. What does the fourth number, this and second 9, tell us to do? It tells us to round this one up, which means this one goes to 22.0. Okay, so we had this question. We typed it into our calculator and it gave us 7 pi. If it asks for the answer in terms of pi, and some of the questions in the Hegarty clip do, it's actually easier than the other way. It just means you write this. But if it asks you to round your answer to 2 decimal places or 3 significant figures, and remember the answer that we got in that question was 21.991 something something something. We want 3 significant figures, 1, 2, 3. The next number tells us to round this number up. 9 goes up to 10, which means this answer becomes 22.0 if we're showing 3 significant figures. Okay, here's one for you to try. So pause the video, try this question. Remember the formula. Check you've got the diameter. Substitute the number for the diameter into the formula. Get your answer in terms of pi, then press SD to get your answer. I want your answer for this one to 3 significant figures. So you should have done this working out, should have done pi times 1.3. Now, in terms of pi, it's a bit weird. My calculator says 13 over 10 pi. If it asks for in terms of pi, that's what you'd write down. But I wanted 3 significant figures. It's 4.08407. So I'm going to round that to 3 significant figures. Then it's 0.8, and the number after the 8 is a 4. So that's going to stay as it is, 4.08. In these answers on Hegarty, you do need to make sure you round the answers correctly or it'll tell you that they're wrong. So make sure you're doing your rounding. Read the question. He'll tell you whether to round it 2 decimal places, 3 significant figures, whichever. The first few questions in Hegarty are like this. You might want to pause the video now and do the first 3 or 4 questions till it's a little bit different. But carry on watching the video if you want, because I'll go into how it gets harder. These are the next few questions on Hegarty. Now look at the picture. Have they given me the diameter? This time they have not given me the diameter. They have given me the radius. And the question is, there's the centre. How do I find the diameter? This distance from one edge to the other going through the centre. Well, if the radius is the centre to the edge, which is 50, the diameter must be double that. So the diameter must be 100. And what they do is they do give you the diameter in some of the questions, the radius, sorry, because they just want to test that you really know what you're doing. And that's why I always say, look what I've done first. Before I've even thought about the formula, I've written down the information I've got, whether I've got the radius or the diameter. Next thing, if we're finding circumference, remember your formula, what was it? Pi times d. Which one am I going to use? Am I going to use the 50 or the 100? I'm going to use the 100. If it asks for me for my answer in terms of pi, that's easy peasy. 100 pi. But it doesn't ask for my answer in terms of pi. For this one, I want you to type it into your calculator. Go on, get your calculator now. Press SD. And you get that the circumference, we're going to go 1 significant figure. 3, 1, 4. Now my next number's a 1, but then it's a 5. So the 5 tells me to round up to a 2. 314.2. Now pause the video. You try this question now. I really hope you pause the video. It's really important you pause and try and just have a look. It's good practice before you do the Hegarty clip. I've written down all the information I need. I've looked at the question. I've worked out I've got the radius. I know for circumference it's pi times d, so I know that I need to double the radius to get the diameter. Then I've written the number in for my radius. Can you see I've done it wrong? What have I done wrong? This is the mistake you'll make. You mustn't use the radius. You must use the diameter. Be really, really careful. Look how easy that mistake is to make. Really make sure you're careful and you use the diameter in your calculation. You must use that diameter. Type it into your calculator. Again, we've got a weird version in terms of pi. We've got 8 over 5 pi. I'm not going to write that one down. I'm going to press my SD. I've got 5.026548, blah, blah. So I'm going to do 3 significant figures. So that's 5.02. But there's a 6 after that. So I'm going to round it up to 03. And that would be the answer. One thing I haven't talked about is the units of these questions. This first question should have centimetres. This next question should have metres. Just be careful of that. I'm not too fussed about that at the minute. I just want you to get the calculations right to start off with. Okay, so that's everything you need for the Hegarty clip, but there's quite a lot to remember in there. The first thing is, be careful whether you're using the radius or the diameter. Look at every picture carefully. Which one do we need for our circumference formula? Do we need R or do we need D? We need the diameter, so look at every picture carefully. If I had a question, let's say the diameter was 10 and I put it in, do I always need to type it into my calculator? No. Sometimes they will ask you for it in terms of pi. This is for when you haven't got a calculator. So for this one, because pi times 10, we can write that as 10 pi. The pi works, the pi isn't an x, it's a number, we know what it is, but the pi works a little bit like an x. Do you know when we write 3x, 4x, the x always comes second? It's the same with in terms of pi, the pi will always come at the end. Okay, so it's the circumference, if it's in terms of pi, you'll just write the number, then pi. So this is in terms of pi. However, very often they'll ask you to round your answer to 2 decimal places, 3 significant figures, whatever that might be. And if they ask you to do that, you'll need to type it into your calculator. This is 3 significant figures. It would be 31.4. You might want to watch Mr. Hegarty's video as well. Be really, really careful. This seems, there's a lot to think about. Your rounding, radius and diameter, in terms of pi, and your formula. So be really careful. I would pause this video, make sure you've got enough notes in your book, make sure you've got some examples to look at, watch the video again, watch Hegarty's video again, take the time to get this right. This is grade 4 and moves into grade 5, so we really need to get this right. You now need to go and do Hegarty Maths clip 534. Send me some messages if there's any questions you don't understand. Email me, send me a photo, whatever it is, send me a message on Hegarty. Whatever it is, please send me those messages and I will try and help as much as I can. So off you go now, do Hegarty Maths clip 534. I have set it for you. Hopefully see you soon.